If you want to go beyond the rink and into the dressing room, there's only one place to be. With a hockey reporter who was once mistaken as an NHLer by Jeff Finger, and a diehard Maple Leafs fan who has not one, but 2 Ken Baumgartner jerseys. This is the HockeyVerse with Michael Tracos and Johnny Legend. Tighten your chin strap. This could get ugly.
All right, let's get right into this. Toronto Maple Leafs are now down 0-2 in their best-of-7 series against the Florida Panthers. So why does it feel like they're still going to win this thing? Am I wrong? Why isn't anyone freaking out? Why aren't we saying that William Nylander needs to be traded, or that Sheldon Keefe has to get fired, or that the team is blowing it? Maybe it's because the Leafs have been the better team so far, and by a great margin. The Leafs outshot the Panthers 36-28 in that 4-2 loss in Game 1. In the 3-2 loss in Game 2, shots were 37-29 in favor of Toronto. Yeah, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares still don't have a goal. Nylander still doesn't even have a point. But anyone who's watched the series knows it's less on them and more on Sergei Bobrovsky, who has been playing out of his mind. In fact, Matthews, Marner, and Nylander each had 6 shots in Game 2. Combined, the core 4 fired 23 shots on the Florida net. Now, you don't have to be an analytics wizard to know that usually that's a recipe for success. Now, based on the law of averages, you fire the puck enough on net, eventually it's going to go in. Right? Right?
Right.
Well, that's the hope. And that's why there's optimism in the HockeyVerse these days. Because while there is no such thing as moral victories in the playoffs, you got to be happy with how the Leafs have been playing. Minus 47 seconds or so. Then again, if Bobrovsky stonewalls Toronto for 2 more games, no one is going to be talking about how the Leafs were the better team and how they deserved a better fate. All we'll be saying is that this team blew a great opportunity to get to the conference final, where the path to the Stanley Cup has arguably never looked easier. With that, and much, much more on today's edition of the HockeyVerse.
You just found the world's latest and greatest hockey, sports, and entertainment podcast. This is the HockeyVerse. On today's episode, we recap the Leafs' Game 2 loss to the Panthers. We look ahead to what are a couple of must-win games in Florida. We're also joined by NHL.com senior hockey columnist Mike Zeisberger, who tries to explain why the best players are making the biggest mistakes. And backed by popular demand are tweets from the Half-Twits, where listeners of the show had some not-so-flattering things to say, mostly about Michael Tracos. By the way, check out our show notes for timestamps if you want to fast forward to your favorite part. Also, if you want to be on a future episode, email your questions to heyhockeyverse@gmail.com. Now, can somebody please take away Sheldon Keefe's whiteboard marker and smack him in the face? Let's go.
Ooh. I'm here. I'm talking about optimism.
Optimism.
And what is your optimism level right now?
I am optimistic that we can now go to Florida where he doesn't get to try and line match.
Yeah, I didn't like that off the start. You don't have the Matthews line against the...
oh, my God. And then look what
the
happens
Chuck
in
line.
the third period when you're just throwing the kitchen sink at them.
Yeah.
I don't even think Florida touched the puck in the third period.
How about this? Sheldon Keefe just convinced these guys that they're already down a goal to start the game.
Yeah. Why not start the first period like you started that third period and then continue it throughout the game? Stop trying to line match. Let the best goal scorer in the NHL over the last few years score some goals.
Yeah. That second period for the Leafs has just been their downfall.
Well, what are you saving them for?
Who?
You might have 2 games left. Like Sheldon Keefe, what are you saving the big guys for? You might have 2 games left in the season.
Yeah. It's so disappointed? Frustrated?
Angry because it happened.
How angry are you though?
It happened throughout the entire Tampa Bay series. He tried to line match. There was that one game Austin Matthews played 40 seconds in the first 9 minutes.
Yeah.
That's one of the best players in the world. Not on the ice. How can you expect to win a game like that? Why do you think the Leafs are 3-0 on the road? Because he can't line match.
Johnny, they each had, 6 shots. Matthews had 6 shots. Marner had 6 shots. Nylander had 6 shots.
How many in the third period?
I think 6.
There you go.
So your buddy, William Nylander, who you said was, I don't know what you said about him, but you didn't
Vanishing
say
Willie?
Vanishing Willie. He
Played
appeared.
amazing last night.
Still a -2 though.
Yeah, but look at what happened. I even texted you. I said, look what happens when he cuts to the middle and doesn't stay on the outside.
Every time he was on the ice was noticeable.
That's what we need.
Yeah. Well, he was still -2 though.
Wow.
So that's where I'm looking at Twitter. I'm listening to what people are saying about Nylander, and it's like he cost the game. But, he scores a goal at the end, and he would have saved the game.
Yeah.
It's just Bobrovsky, man. What the hell do you do about Bobrovsky?
What's with that? Every time Austin Matthews takes a shot, he dives out. You notice that?
Who dives out?
Bobrovsky. Like he's diving towards Austin Matthews every time he takes a shot. Is that by design? Is he off balance?
I'm not a goalie. All I know is that the puck's not going by him, and if it goes by him, it hits a post.
Yeah.
How many times the Leafs have their hands up?
5 posts last night. And then there was a couple goals where it looked like it went in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're all kind of like putting their hands up. Hey, we scored.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't score. Oh, yeah, we scored. No, we didn't score.
How did that not go in?
No, it's I don't know. They lose the first 2. It's hard to be optimistic. It's hard to think, the Leafs have them right where they want them. But I've seen this so many times where, especially in this playoffs, the road team has just been so superior right now.
Well, I think before last night, the road teams in the playoffs in general were like 33-17.
Can't explain that at all. And the crowd was great last night. I wasn't at the game, but just watching it on TV, it just seemed like the Leafs were right there.
Yeah.
Like they're dominating. It seemed like I hear a lot of people talking about like, hey, the hockey gods are finally paying the Leafs back for round 1. Where
paying them back.
Well, because round 1 it was Tampa Bay was controlling the play a lot of times, and it was like the Leafs kept squeaking out these victories, and now it's the other way around. And ultimately it's less than a minute in the second period cost the game. Until that point, I was thinking blowout win.
Oh yeah.
Like the Leafs were getting offense from like guys like Kerfoot. The fourth line looked good. And the disappointing thing is not that it was just a minute brain cramp. It was that it was the star guys. And we're going to talk to Zeis about this, is that how frustrating is that Matthews isn't getting a goal. Marner didn't get a goal. Nylander doesn't have a point in this series. And yet they're costing the Leafs on these defensive mistakes that they can't make.
And
you just can't make them.
And how are they on the ice?
What do you mean?
They're being matched up on purpose?
I don't care who they're matching up against. They're just,
that's the
they
thing.
Can't make these mistakes. Like you can't flip the puck in your own defensive zone. Like these are,
and they got to find a way to do something about that Florida flipping it out, because it's never icing.
Yeah.
And it just kills everything.
They gotta figure out the Florida forecheck.
Yeah.
And you saw it with Liljegren a couple times where he just cannot wait to get rid of that puck because he knows he's got a guy on him. And the other day, I think it was Tkachuk or Bennett was talking about that specifically, saying, by Game 7, the Boston Bruins didn't want to go retrieve pucks because they knew we were just going to keep hammering them. This is Game 2, and the Leafs are already in that
I
mode.
know.
Can you imagine if this thing goes 7?
And it's the way that the defense gets involved on the forecheck. It's beautiful if you're a Florida fan. It's a nightmare if you're a Leaf fan.
Someone was comparing the Panthers to that LA Kings team that won the Cup. I've done that comparison too. Just this team was way better than what it showed in the regular season.
Yeah. Are you talking about the 92?
They beat the
Kings
Canucks
team?
in the first round. They were like the 8th seed. And then they beat the Sharks, I think, in the second round. And then the Coyotes. And then beat the Devils in the final. And it was like such an easy path where you're going, if you're a Canucks fan that year or a Sharks fan that year, you're going, oh my God, what an easy path. Mm-hmm. It's kind of looking similar. Where if you're a Leafs fan right now, you're saying, couldn't have been an easier path.
Well, I
Play
think
Florida in the second round and possibly Carolina or Jersey in the third, and then who knows what you might get. You might get Dallas. You might get Seattle in the final.
I saw after last night's game that Florida jumped to the favorite to win the Stanley Cup.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, on some of the betting sites.
So what is Florida missing right now? They got the goalie. They got a better defense than I think a lot of people gave them credit for. I think a lot of people thought Toronto was going to eat up that D. Because you got Aaron Ekblad, you got a Radko Gudas who is mean and nasty, but he's not really as mobile as some of these D are now. Oh, man.
I don't know if I know where the hole is, but if you watched that third period last night, the Leafs that might have been the biggest differential in possession that I've seen in the playoffs in any game.
Yeah.
Like all Florida could do was maybe get the puck and flip it out. At least just go get it, bring it back in, and throw it around for another 3 minutes.
Even in the first period.
Yeah.
I think the shots were like 11-2 at one point for Toronto.
Yeah, it
like
looked
the
like
ice was tilted.
It looked like they were going to run away with it.
And I don't know if you watched the post game on Sportsnet, and like Kevin Bieksa was even saying, he's like, the ice has been tilted for Toronto this whole series in the first game, games 1 and 2. And he's like, if you're Sheldon Keefe, you can't be too hard on the guys, I think you have to say, listen, stick to the process. It's eventually going to turn your way. And eventually, it doesn't matter who's in net. Like, you get that many shots on net, they're going to go by them.
Well, the ice can be as tilted as you want, but if they didn't take the covers off the net, it's not going in.
No. Oh, man, it's...
You see Samsonov in his post-game interview?
Yeah.
They're asking him, what do you think of Bobrovsky? He goes, I don't care about Bobrovsky. I got my own game.
Yeah. He said,
Like,
I don't give an F.
Yeah, he said some other words, but...
And my buddy Mark Masters asked that question. He's like, when you watch Bobrovsky play, does it make you think like, hey, I got to be even better? He's like, I don't give an F. Yeah. Next question.
Yeah, he knows those words in English, eh?
Well, and it's true. Like, he's getting outplayed by Bobrovsky, but I see it less as a goaltending duo and more of Toronto's paying their star guys a lot of money for the simple reason is that, Matthews scores goals. Marner puts up points. Nylander is just skilled through the roof. Like, you could argue Nylander is the most skilled Leaf.
I think he's got the most raw talent and skill. He just doesn't use it. Well, he doesn't.
Stop saying he doesn't use it.
No.
He uses it. He's a good player.
He doesn't use all of it.
I'm going to beat this drum until I'm dead. I think Nylander gets way too much criticism in this market. And it's fair. Like, you're not the only guy saying this. And I'm just saying, like, hey, you're the only one picking on him. 90% of Leaf fans, if you say right now, do you want to trade Nylander and re-sign Ryan O'Reilly?
Yeah.
They all say yeah, and you probably say yeah as well. I understand that argument. But, man, last night he answered, I think, critics. I think he was, like, more noticeable than Marner was, more noticeable than Matthews was. I think he was the Leafs' best player.
I have no problem with Nylander playing at all. I like watching Nylander play. He's smooth. He's got tons of skill. But it's got to be 100% all the time. It's the playoffs, man. I understand it in the regular season. You don't want to get hurt because you're saving yourself for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it's the playoffs.
You want him to hit, though, too, right?
No, I want him to not be scared to get hit. I think that's the problem.
Did you see that shift where he, like, jumps around a defender and then jumps around, I think it was, like, Mark Stahl, and then cuts to the net?
Yeah.
And gets stoned by Bobrovsky.
Because I texted you right then. I said,
he scored. That's a highlight reel play like you're going to see over and over and over again.
That would have been one of the best goals in the playoffs so far.
Instead, everyone's just talking about it was a -2. And
I said that to you. Look what happens when he cuts in. Instead of staying outside and trying to go around the net like it's a carousel.
And that's probably the big argument against Nylander is, like you just said, he's got all the tools. I don't think there's a better skater on Toronto. I don't think there's a better stick handler.
Nope.
His wrist shot is so sneaky good. We saw him beat Vasilevsky a couple times. He put one off the crossbar last night. But does he play to that potential every single time he's on the ice?
And I think that's the thing that ticks the fans off, right? Like, I'm playing the fan on this podcast. You're the unbiased writer. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pick on whoever crapped the bed last night. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who it is. I remember I was picking on Austin Matthews. I had him going to Arizona to play beer league. Yeah,
and let's be honest. How bad was Marner last night?
Marner has been... I was going to put the drop on the board. The Bueller.
Like, where are you?
Yeah, where are you?
On that goal that Matthews tries to flick it out and it gets intercepted, Marner blows the zone.
He's trying to get the
and you see him blow the zone, and then a couple passes later, there's a defenseman or winger ends up scoring the goal, and you don't see Marner in the frame. Like, it's just like it's old Alex Ovechkin kind of style.
Still standing at the red line?
Yeah, and he's been doing that a couple times now in this series where he anticipates a pass and tries to turn it in a defensive play into an offensive play.
Yeah.
But he's jumping a little early. And yeah, he hasn't looked, I won't say he hasn't looked good, because every time you say like Marner hasn't been a good player for this Leaf team, all you have to do is look at the stats and go, oh, he's still dominating. But again, you're at a level where expectations have to be higher. And it's the same thing, I guess, with Nylander, same thing with Matthews, same thing with Marner. You don't expect what you expect out of Kerfoot. You've got to put the level a lot higher for these guys. And yeah, like games 1 and 2, they're just not getting it done. If they were getting it done, Leafs would be winning.
Matthews and Marner got the next 2 games for sure. They got to play 25 minutes.
Yeah, I keep the line.
They got to be on the ice, man.
You know who doesn't have to be on the ice? And
Kampf does not have to be on the ice.
Well, Matthews Knies doesn't have to be on the ice.
Well, I don't know if he knows where he is right now after that suplex.
If he's even like 2 days from now, if he's okay, and they say game 3, okay, well, he's healthy, for the good of Matthews Knies, you can't put him on the ice anymore. Like, this guy he might be shell-shocked right now.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
The Wayne train's got to get in.
Do you hear the Wayne? Do you hear the whistle? Do you hear the whistle for the Wayne train?
Honestly, the way that Florida's playing, and with how Sam Bennett's been running around, like no payback,
pushback, no pushback. Nope. I think why not throw the Wayne train in?
I think game 3 is a possibility that we might see Wayne Simmons in there. Matthews Knies out, Wayne Simmons in, and you can't allow the Florida Panthers to kind of run roughshod around you guys.
I'm going to say this right now. If they put in the Wayne train and he punches somebody out and the Leafs win the game, I'm going to go get a Wayne Simmons jersey.
I'm surprised you don't have a Wayne Simmons jersey already.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't expect him to be.
Who are you wearing today, by the way?
Ken Baumgartner.
There you go.
You heard the intro.
Yeah, a brand new intro.
What do you think of the new intro?
Well, I'm curious to see what the fans think about it. I love it.
We're big time now.
Yeah, we got all we need now is some sponsors.
Beer sponsors, yeah.
There we go. How about Sam Bennett, though? We talked a lot about him in the last podcast, and we told some stories about
I don't know.
the heart of the lion kind of thing.
Did you tell a story maybe he didn't want you to tell? Was he pissed off at you?
Oh, man. Well, here's a guy, and I saw the tweet yesterday. A buddy of mine, Ken Campbell, used to write for the Hockey News. Still kind of does, actually, I should say. Said, can you believe this guy couldn't do a chin-up at the Combine?
He almost took Bunting's head off at the chin.
So there you go. That is the kind of player that, wins you playoff. Never mind playoff games, playoff rounds.
Yeah, and I mean, the Leafs need to be in front of the net. They're not going to score on Bobrovsky unless there's 2 layers of guys in front of the net. There's got to be a guy right in his face, and there's got to be a guy up between him and the hash marks.
You got to make it difficult on him because he's seeing everything right now.
Yeah, and he's going to give up rebounds.
Yeah. I don't know, man. They just keep firing pucks on him like they're doing, and good things are going to keep happening. It's just those defensive mistakes right now.
When they asked Scotty Bowman, how do you win so many Stanley Cups? He said, luck's a big part of it. Yeah,
and that's it. Games 1 and 2. Leafs have not been lucky.
Nope. And they even got lucky last night. The breakaway on the open net, he hit the post.
Right. Oh, well, we shall see. I think games 3 and 4 are going to be, obviously huge for this Leaf team. They have to win. I think game 3 now is become a must win. To go down 3-0 and expect to win, not going to happen.
No, I think they win on the road. And you know why I think they win on the road. Can't match the lines.
You can't match the lines.
Put out the beasts. Put them out.
This team is undefeated in Florida this year.
True.
In the playoff. So there you go.
True.
Before we go further here, I want to shout out listener, friend of the show, Sam Daskopoulos. Sorry, I think I mangled his name. It's got too many goddamn consonants here.
You probably just
Sam
said
Daskopoulos is putting together the Richard Green Memorial Hockey Game. It's a charity game. It's brought to you by Scoring Goals for the Community. It's a great cause. Like I said, brought to you by Sam as well as Laura McBride Real Estate. It's happening Saturday, May 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Angus Glen Community Center in Markham, Ontario. Tickets are $10 at the door. Kids under 12 are free. It's all to honor and celebrate a man, Richard Green, who's proud hockey dad who's dedicated to supporting his children's athletic pursuits and sharing and spreading positive energy with those who knew him. So if you're in the Markham area, check this thing out. Anyone who's a friend of the show is a friend of me. So
Speaking of friends.
Speaking of not friends.
Speaking of not friends.
Should we go to tweets from the Half-Twits?
Tweets from the Half-Twits.
All right.
Okay, what do we got?
Okay, so this one is in regards to a story I wrote on Matthew Tkachuk for the Hockey News, and I'll cue it up here. So the tweet was, Matthew Tkachuk should be up for consideration as the best player with 5 goals and a playoff leading 14 points in 8 games. He now has more, by the way. You can make the argument that he has emerged as the NHL's best player, period. So that's what I said. And what is
all of these are in response to this?
And more. Trust me. This is just a sample, okay? So you want to start us off with...
All right. Jordan at Shreddy Man. What the hell is Tracos on? Like, legitimately.
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to tell you what I'm on.
Is that from a guy that hasn't watched any of the playoff games? Or
No, because Matthew Tkachuk is not playing like he's the best player in the world.
No.
Tell me who's better than Matthew Tkachuk right now.
Right now?
Even Connor has not been Matthew Tkachuk level right now.
Joe Pavelski?
Ooh, good one. All right. Same thing. Kiefer at John Keefe 77 says, NHL's best player? Are you insane? Hashtag clickbait.
Well, he clicked on it.
Yeah, there you go.
So your clickbait game is strong.
Yeah.
All right, Brad, Oilers fan 071973. Is that his social security number? Somebody open a credit card.
A lot
quick.
of Oilers fans out there, Johnny.
Somebody has been drinking on the job.
Oh.
Well, you think?
Yeah.
We're looking for a beer sponsor.
A Chili Moose sponsor here. All right, we got another one here. Oilers. It's a lot of Oilers fans because they know that their boy Connor is probably better than Tkachuk. So, let's see if Connor can get it done. Mm-hmm. Oilers. What is this? Scoobs? At Oilers Scoobs. You could, and could is on all caps, make that argument, but it'd be obvious that A, you're trolling for clicks, and B, you're wrong. Again, who's trolling for clicks, man?
What are they clicking?
Well, the click in the article.
Oh. You get paid per click?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
How do you think this internet thing works there, John?
Then maybe. All right, Nick at 2003 Nico. When did McDavid, Makar, Draisaitl, Matthews, McKinnon, Kucherov, and Pasternak all retire? Well,
Pasternak. Did you see Pasternak's playoff?
Well, how many of those guys are still left in the playoffs?
Kucherov's not. McKinnon's not.
No.
Makar's not. Ooh, Draisaitl's been good.
Yeah, Pasternak's gone.
In all honesty, you know what? If you're going to drop a list of best players in the NHL just overall, you go McDavid, Draisaitl, and then you can have an argument. Is it Matthews? Is it McKinnon? Is it Makar? I'm fine with that. You're talking about, now let's drop a list, best players in the playoffs.
And I think
and
that's
the ones
what
that you're
said.
going to win a cup. Tkachuk's on my top of my list right now.
Well, we both picked him to start a team with.
Here we go. Here's my favorite one. Sean York at Yorkie NHL Tips. Do you actually have a clue about hockey? Are you feeling attention deprived, so you need to write up shit to piss people off? That works, but you zero credibility. Creditability.
Creditability. Well, do you have a clue about hockey? How many years have you been paid a handsome sum to write about hockey?
Handsome. You talking about me now? No. I don't know. You know what? I love the discourse. So, Sean York, I appreciate the fact that you you felt so strongly about this, but
haters are readers, right?
Yeah. All right. Here's another one. Okay, this is in regards to a tweet I put out. I say if I'm the Leafs, I'm the Leafs, I'm eyeing Radko Gudas in free agency this summer. He earned $2.5 million this season and turns 33 in June. Put simply, The Panthers have great value on the back end. And what do we got here from?
What is that? Adrian Noyle? Are you that idiot that used to write for The Sun?
I am.
You are, and now you got a podcast. So not only do people have to read what you say, they have to listen to what you say.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Hey, before we go over, we got Mike Zeisberger from NHL.com coming up, but I want to talk to you just real quick about the Norris Trophy finalists came out today, Johnny. I don't know if you saw the list, but it was some usual suspects there. Erik Karlsson was among the finalists, along with Cale Makar and Adam Fox. So some notable
because
omissions there.
We kind of thought that. Well, we had that discussion with whether old boy there in San Jose was going to win just because he had 100 and whatever points, but he was minus 800.
Yeah, so he's up there, but you know who's not there? If you're a Winnipeg fan, Josh Morrissey finished second amongst defensemen, tied with Quinn Hughes, who also wasn't a finalist.
And made the playoffs.
Josh Morrissey had 16 goals this year. Other notable omissions, Brandon Montour, 16 goals as well, 73 points, a +9. The one argument against Makar getting recognized for this, obviously Makar won the Norris last year, only played 60 games. So he missed 22 games?
And what did he have?
66 points in 60 games, a +16 rating, and 17 goals.
Yeah,
so big numbers.
Big numbers.
For a banged-up Colorado team.
But
is 22 games, is that too much time to miss?
I guess we're going to find out.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Because he was a finalist. But, you know, I talked to a lot of people. A couple reporters. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to just throw out their names. But a lot of them had Makar number one. So I'm curious to see if Makar wins back-to-back Norris trophies. I think one of those things, and here's the argument, like when all's said and done, Makar retires and, you know, guys like McDavid retire, we're going to be looking back and being like, wow, the best defenseman, one of the best defensemen to ever play the game. I think Makar's going to go down with the Bob Orrs and the Paul Coffeys and the Ray Borks and guys of that ilk. I want to see how many Norrises those guys have. Right? So when all's said and done, I'm going to look at it and be like, wow, Makar won back-to-back-to-back, similar to like a Nick Lidstrom, who, again, one of the best defensemen. So that's the thing I have no problem with. And it's not like you're just throwing in a flavor of the month or anything like that, because I don't think anyone's going to be saying Josh Morrissey was one of the best Norris Trophy winners.
And then look at it. Is it
defenseman?
The best defenseman season, or is it the best defenseman in the season?
It's
right. So if you look at it that way, Cale Makar was the best defenseman that played this season.
Yeah. The way I look at it is, if you're starting a team and if you could have your pick of defensemen.
Oh, you're taking Cale Makar.
You're taking Cale Makar.
And then you're taking Luke Shen.
Maybe. Hey, Luke Shen's just added another 5 years to his career.
I think
the way
so.
He's playing in
I think
Toronto.
he's getting a raise anyway.
All right, let's go to Mike Zeisberger of NHL.com, see what he thought of Game 2, and cue us up for Game 3.
Let's do it.
We are going live to the phones. We've got Mike Zeisberger of NHL.com on. He was at Game 2. How you doing there, Zeiss?
Doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me on this great podcast, and hope to make some more frequent visits. Great hockey talk, and, if you haven't listened before, start doing it on a regular basis.
Well, we love hearing that, and you were down there for Game 2. Where you sit, and Johnny, I sat beside Mike for Game 1, just a couple seats over. Behind him is Kyle Dubas's box.
Oh, boy.
And Zeiss, how hard did the door slam in the GM's box after that second period?
I mean, everybody got a kink in their neck from turning when they heard the sound of the door slamming. And you can understand why, because, I've been critical of, in the past, of the things that Kyle has done, but I think that Kyle has transformed and understood what kind of makeup of a team succeeds in the playoffs, that you need more grit, that you need more sandpaper. And I thought he did an outstanding job with some of his additions that he brought in, and we can go down the list. I mean, O'Reilly and Atari and McCabe, Jen, Lafferty. Start wherever you want. I think what's alarming, guys, is that we saw at the beginning of the second period last night, the Leafs come out, they're up 2-1, and I kind of call it 66 seconds that cost the Leafs the game, and maybe it's going to cost them the entire season because, you know, you've got Barkov scores 19 seconds in. 47 seconds later after that, you know, it's 3-2. Forsling scores. That's the way the game ended. We could talk about Bobrovsky and how well he played and things like that. But when you look at those first 66 seconds of the second period, number one, how a team can come out so flat. But number two, those two goals came off a combination of mistakes by William Nylander, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner.
Yep.
Okay? The core of the team, the guys that had been through 6 one-and-done playoff eliminations, and they finally got over the hump. And I think that, Mike, is why Kyle, that led to his frustration, because it wasn't the foot soldiers that made these mistakes. It was his, you know, it was the star player. And it's just, you know, you can look at the rest of the game, but for me, that 66 seconds might be the glimpse in time that's going to cost this team all summer to look back and say what happened.
Yeah, that is the frustrating part. How did you feel there, Johnny? Like, top dogs aren't scoring, but they're also the ones who are, you know, like Zeiss just said, making those costly mistakes. And 47 seconds defined the game. 47 seconds, like Zeiss just said, could that define the series?
You know what's crazy? They scored so fast. My little guy was crying yesterday, like in between periods, and I literally only missed the first 2 minutes of the second period.
Yeah.
And I go back to the TV, and it's 3-2. And I almost threw the TV out the window.
Yeah, it just seems like I'm still optimistic because of how the Leafs were able to finish game 2, and the fact that, you know, you look at the shots, you look at the chances, if not for Bobrovsky, if not for some posts, if not for some like unlucky bounces, you know, Toronto could easily be up 2-0 right now, or at least tied 1-1. How about you, Zeiss? Do you think this is a little different in the sense that, you know, even after that game, I go on Twitter and find everyone's complaining about Sam Bennett and what the Department of Justice didn't do to Bennett in terms of a suspension, but I get the feeling that a lot of Leaf fans are still thinking that, you know, it's very much still on Toronto's hands here right now.
Well, yeah, I do think that, you know, the Leafs have a shot. There's a lot to clean up. First of all, I may have seen one of them, you know, you see a lot of ridiculous things on Twitter. I may have seen one of the Mount Rushmore tweets of all time last night, which was somebody calling for Matt Murray to start game 3.
No
way.
Come on.
A person like that, you know, I think they should call the authorities. I don't think it's safe that somebody like that is walking among us on the street to suggest something like that. But you know what, guys? Here's my biggest issue with the Leafs game. And, you know, I mean, obviously we can talk about the mistakes. And I noticed it in the Tampa series, too. Their defense struggles to get the puck out of their own end. They make these back passes that I have no idea what's going on. They seem at times to be really jittery with the puck, and I thought the same thing against Tampa. And you know what, guys? I mean, I was talking to Scotty Bowman during the Tampa series, and rumor has it he's managed to accomplish a few things. He's got his name chiseled in that big silver thing a few times. But, you know, it's simple. When in doubt, get it out. And I just see the Leafs screwing around in their own zone so much. And even when they dominate play, there are certain shifts, and usually it involves the Cousins, Bennett, Kachuk line. But there are certain shifts where the Leafs defense is kind of looking over their shoulders, and it's almost like the Panthers can smell blood.
Mm-hmm.
And my image of the first two games has nothing to do with Bobrovsky or anything like that. It's the Panthers' first goal in game one, where Kachuk on the forecheck, and I believe it was Kachuk, he goes in behind the net and delivers a hit to Giordano that takes the veteran Leafs defenseman right off his feet, and he lands on his keister, and he's sitting there to watch, Cousins get the first goal in game one. And there's been instances of that where you almost think that the Leafs are really tepid, their defense, when they're going in there, looking over their shoulders. And I just think that is something, no matter how much you might dominate the shot clock, all it takes is one shift. And it's as much that the Panthers forcing these turnovers as the Leafs making them. But to me, it all comes back to puck movement and how quick you get it out. And sometimes, you know what? You just got to say, screw the puck possession numbers. Sometimes you just got to get it out of your end, period, end of story. I know it doesn't look good on the analytics, but what they're doing right now sure as hell doesn't look good on the scoreboard.
No, Florida looks awful good with that flip out.
Yeah. That little kind of...
Yeah.
It's what Pittsburgh did a number of years ago when they won the first of two cups.
Yeah.
The HBK line, the defense just kept flipping it up, and Kessel and company would just go forward.
Yeah, most of the time that's not going to go for icing.
Hey, Zeiss, what'd you make of Matthews Knies? Like, Johnny was talking about it after game one. He made a couple good plays, but he's got to, watch out and stop admiring passes because he was getting rocked. And then we see him just, say what you want about Sam Bennett. I like the guy. I think you like him if he's on your team. If he's not on your team, then you're calling him a WWE wrestler right now and saying that he's the worst thing about hockey. But, I forget about the suspension for 1 second. Matthews Knies, you're talking about a guy who's just thrown into the NHL, and he's getting rocked. He's getting hit. I don't know what his health status is going to be for game 3, but if you're the coach right now, are you almost concerned about putting this guy back in just for the future of his career and what you might be doing to this guy harm-wise for the future?
Well, that was, Mike, that was my biggest, I don't want to say concern, but when they brought him up and in much ballyhooed fashion, as is the case when you're in Toronto, every prospect kind of is in the fishbowl and the hype and the propaganda. And I've got to say, skill-wise, he's exceeded my expectations.
Oh, yeah, me too.
One concern I had, and let's not forget, he's only a month removed from playing in the Frozen Four, okay? He never had played against grown men before.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean, physically developed, look at Mike, we've been in scrums with Ratko Gudas. I mean, you don't want to get too close to him, and we're just reporters. We know he's not going to hit us, but
it's true.
These are grown men out there, and what Bennett did last night. I mean, with the WWE wrestling, you know what? I mean, fans screamed for a penalty, and they probably were right, but there were also fans screaming for a suspension. We see a play like that in the playoffs all the time, guys. I mean, whether it's a penalty or not, I get that. That's not a suspendable offense. And at some point, and I don't blame the kid for this, but you have to stand your ground.
Mm-hmm.
He's never had to go up against anything like that. He's probably never had anybody put the headlock and the WWE moves on him like that. So I agree, Mike. You have to be very careful in how you proceed here. Number one, we got to make sure that we have to see if the kid is healthy. But number two, what's his mental health now? Is he going to be trepid out there? Is he going to kind of be tiptoeing? Because that takes his effectiveness away. Because one of the things that I have been impressed with him in the early going is that he's not afraid to go to the net. Is that going to change? after what happened last night? You know, those are all questions that we have to see. But you do very much make a legitimate point.
And he came back after that hit too, or after that suplex.
Did he come back?
He came back after that for a shift, but he didn't come back for the third period.
No, and we're going to find out. Sheldon Keefe, we're talking to Zeiss here before Keefe has had his availability today.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of with Zeiss. Like, you've got a lot of options, and I've been so impressed with how Matthews Knies has been playing, but he looks like a man, and yet, just what Zeiss said, he hasn't had to play against men.
No.
It's different.
And
he's the biggest guy in college, and he's able to get by with some things because of his size. Now he's going to the NHL. Well, everyone is strong as him or stronger, and it's playoffs, man. There's no way of preparing you.
And not just that, they know how to play right on the edge.
Yeah.
Like, he's never been right to the edge before.
In this Florida Panthers team, there is a style that they are sticking to in terms of how to play against the Leafs. And Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk, Radko Gudas, those guys play it to a T. Bennett right now, he's public enemy number 1 in Toronto. Like I said, I love the kid. He's from not too far from where we're recording here, Zeiss. I know you did a great story on Bennett and convincing Matthew Tkachuk to come to Florida. What did you make of the cross-check on Michael Bunting?
Oh, boy.
And is that much different than the cross-check that Austin Matthews delivers on Rasmus Dahlin not too long ago? Was that a year ago that earned Austin a suspension? And are you surprised that all we're getting now with Bennett is just a fine?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised. I actually thought that was a worse play than what happened with Knies. But Bennett is he's got into their kitchen. There's no doubt about that. But here's my thing, okay? And after that happened, he did get a minor for that, and people are outraged. You know what? You know the best punishment that you can give Sam Bennett is score in the power play and beat his team.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't able to do that. Now, look, and I'm not taking anything from away from Bobrovsky, and I think this is a sidebar that needs to be brought to the forefront a little bit more because, guys, all three of us know, okay, when you're talking about Sergei Bobrovsky, there's good Bob and there's bad Bob. And when you get bad Bob, he's really, 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 really bad Bob. I mean, there's parts.
He's overpaid Bob at that point.
What he's getting like $10 million a year, and there were Florida fans tweeting if they wondered if he was going to make $1 million a win because he was struggling so much. But the guy I've seen in the first 2 games here, and it goes back to when he came in the Boston series. This is the guy that we saw, we had that flash that 1 year in Columbus that earned him that big contract with Florida. But his rebound control, his confidence, last night the Leafs were up 2-0 and they had another power play. And this is all within the first 10 minutes. And I remember thinking if they score here, Florida's going to have a hard time to come back. And he made 2 or 3 huge saves. And the biggest thing that I see with him, he's in control, okay? It was a 1-goal game in game 1. Marner has the breakaway, tries to do a couple jukes on him. He doesn't go for it. He just looks so calm in the net. And I think if there's one factor that was kind of a wild card coming into this series, it was Bob. And boy, good Bob has been very good Bob in this series so far.
Yep, the Leafs now have a Bobrovsky problem.
Well, we talked to George Richards about this, Zeiss, who obviously covered that Panthers team, covered that Blue Jackets team that Bob was on as well. And he says when he's on, it's the Vezina Trophy Bob that you get, and that's good and all. And I'm kind of at the point now where Leafs lose to Carey Price, and it's Carey Price. So the Leafs lose to Vasilevsky last year. Well, it's the best goalie in the world, Vasilevsky. This team is offensively stacked. When you've got a team with Matthews, you got Marner, you got Nylander, you got Tavares, how you got Ryan O'Reilly playing on your third line. it could be all three of those goalies in the net at the same time, and I'm still saying Toronto's got the offense to beat any goalie in the NHL. When does this just become, you know what? You want to be the best. You want to be up there with Connor McDavid. You want to have, that legacy that Ovi has now, that Sid has, that all these stars that are going to the Hall of Fame have. It's time that you just got to put the puck past the goalie and just get the job done. And how much pressure now going into game 3 and 4 is on that core 4. That's really become like a core 5 or 6 when you go down the list of stars.
Mike, I couldn't agree with you more. And here's the thing, okay? Just like it's such an easy take to say, well, look at the star goalies that they've been against, and it's the same as the last couple of years. I remember last year going like, well, the playoff system is not good because the Leafs are playing the defending Stanley Cup champions, and then this year again they played Tampa the 3 times. The team has been to the final 3 times. Well, you know what? Yeah, that's all well and good. Well, the year before they played Montreal, who they had a better roster than, and the year before they played Columbus, who they had a much better roster than, and they couldn't beat them. And when you're around John Cooper enough, and Mike, you know this, one of his things is he will not allow his team to make excuses like that. It's just like, you know what? You got to play against who you play against if you want to get to the promised land. No team just sails in and has an easy run to the cup. I mean, as much as Colorado made it look that way last year, they went against some strong opponents, and the reason they beat them is because of how well they played. And so, this whole thing about facing this goalie and we're facing that goalie. Well, I mean, other than Ottinger, when you look at the 8 goalies or teams that are still in the playoff hunt right now, it's not like it's a cachet of elite goalies there. Okay, some guys have stood up. Bobrovsky, when it's good, Bob, he would be up there as one of the 2 best goalies still remaining in the playoffs, but we haven't seen that from him that much until these playoffs began. So, that's the one thing. I think that's a convenient excuse.
Yeah.
And you've got to look at the teams that have gone all the way, and they'll be the first to tell you, you know what? It's not easy no matter who you play. And whoever lines up against you, if you want to win the cup, who's ever in the opposing net, you have to beat them. End of story. And I think that's the mindset that the Leafs and their fans have to have, and can't say, "Oh, woe is me! Look who we have to play against, or look who we have to shoot against."
Yeah, well, they're going to Florida now. Games 3 and 4. There's a couple days off between games 2 and 3 and 3 and 4, so they're gonna have a lot of time to think in Florida, and maybe it's nothing that a couple days at the elbow room can't solve. There's eyes. I know it always worked for me.
Yeah, well, I plan on doing that too, Mike.
I'm sure you've already got a table reserved. There's eyes.
After the first 2 games and get my gaming gear, you know that.
Well, listen, for Mike Zeisberger of NHL.com, thanks for listening to the HockeyVerse. As always, check out the HockeyVerse.com for latest stories on the Leafs, the league, and more. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm at Michael_Troikos, minus the blue check mark, of course, and Johnny is at I'm Johnny Legend. For Johnny Legend, I'm Michael Troikos, and that was Mike Zeisberger. And until next time, see you at the rink.
Thank you for listening to the HockeyVerse. If you enjoyed this show, please share the love by subscribing, leaving us a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen, and by introducing the HockeyVerse to your friends and family. Also, be sure to check out thehockeyverse.com. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter. It's specifically written for you, the diehard fan. From insider news to opinion and analysis, our NHL-focused newsletter will entertain and equip you for the conversations of the day. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is the HockeyVerse.